Mr. Lim,
Good morning.
do I owe you any money this week?
Well, I considered not coming because you said you weren't paying me. So, but the sun was up. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. It's only going to be in the 90s, and I have paid off all my debts.
There you go.
Cardiologist with SSM Health, SLU Hospital, and SLU Care. Southern cooking you want to talk about today.
Well, this is something that I think people really want to know about is what's the right diet, or what's the wrong diet. What should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? And there's a story that came out which sort of implicated the Southern diet as being really bad for your heart health, and it turns out that's probably true. But I think that there's a couple different ways you could look at it. You know, people have been cooking that way in the South traditionally for pretty long time.
Yeah, 200 years.
It's not new.
Right.
So what really is it about some things in the Southern diet that are particularly problematic? Number one is salt. And especially in African Americans with high blood pressure. These folks are highly salt sensitive. And you eat too much salt. So what's a high salt meal? Collard greens. Sort of bathe in salt as they simmer there for hours and hours and hours. Those are loaded with salt. When you eat too much salt, you hold on to too much fluid, and that raises your blood pressure and can promote a continued high blood pressure, which is going to increase your risk for having a stroke and a heart attack down the road. Fat. We have a lot of fat, whether it's bacon fat, whether it's fried food and saturated fat. The Southern cooking has a lot of fat associated with it. So there have to be considerations for modification. So you can get a good fried chicken dinner, take the skin off and eat the breast. So you eat the white meat inside with the skin off. I think you do decrease the amount of fat that you take in with that meal. Maybe try to get some low salt or no salt collard greens to go with that, and don't add the butter and the sour cream and everything to your mashed potatoes. Don't add the salt to your mashed potatoes. There's nothing wrong with boiled corn. I mean, boiled corn's pretty good.
That's the only thing in a Southern diet you could possibly eat.
Probably the butter and the cornbread. The cornbread probably is fine in itself. The butter on when you add it is probably the thing that I would try to avoid. So, I mean, nothing in my book is absolute no and absolute yes as far as eating. I think you have to think about things in terms of, well, what is my risk for heart disease and high blood? Do I have high blood pressure? Do I have diabetes? What's my risk for a stroke? And act accordingly. Nobody can be bulletproof and wear the Superman cape and be able to eat anything they want. But I think we believe that in our younger years. We can eat anything we want. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, at some point in time, we think in the back of our head, some point in time, I'm going to eat healthier. But as all of us know now, as we get older, it's really hard to change what we do.
Yeah. So I have found that you build up a tolerance for salt, right? The more salt you like, the more salt you need. And so I don't eat a lot of salt. And if I do eat something, I'm like, wow, that's awful salty. Yeah.
Is that tolerance or a craving or sort of a necessity?
Yeah.
Flatly, people wouldn't put salt on their food if it didn't taste good. If there wasn't some kind of crave, like, hey, I'd like that flavor. We wouldn't be dealing with it. People like that.
Right.
Can there be too much? Well, yeah, everybody's got a little bit different concept on what's enough salt or too much salt. I don't salt my food either, but it has nothing to do with trying to be low salt. I'm more like you. I don't care as much for the actual flavor. Now, people who do really like salt and really like seasoned foods, but you say, wow, you tell me it makes my blood pressure go up and I need to stay away from this salt. We need to work on the no salt seasonings, or switch over to the peppers. There's a lot of great peppers and some cayenne peppers and some other things. You can make your food taste really good if you care for those flavors. Use those flavors and stay away from the salt.
You know what? A cracked pepper and pepper. The more pepper, the better. No, you're absolutely right.
Or lemon.
Pepper does not get the credit it deserves.
I agree.
Well, so that's what I try to turn people to. I heard your interview earlier before the 8 o'clock hour on the poisoned diets. And saturated fats, salts, these types of things are sort of slow poisons over time if you have the predisposition. So that's a problem.
I was going to ask you, you were saying African Americans we are predisposed to high blood pressure.
Yeah, it's in the genes a lot more commonly.
But like
yes.
you were saying, the foods that we've eaten historically have been loaded
help.
with
They don't,
sodium and
help.
fats, and so none of that helps.
They don't help. So the African American gene set, which we should not modify, I don't think, it just is a much higher predilection for high blood pressure, a much higher predilection for high blood pressure and diabetes together.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are really bad in terms of your risk for heart attacks and strokes. And I mean, unfortunately, the challenge is, wow, I really got to change everything I eat. I got to get away from the traditional meals that I grew up with, and that's hard because that's what you grew up with is like that's the best of all time.
Right.
Your go-to food.
That's your memory. So it's more of a you also said something to me. I think it was the one you said it. If not, I'll give you credit because it was brilliant.
Take it.
You said when you're cooking like a Thanksgiving dinner or a Sunday dinner or a dinner for the family, leave the salt out and let the individual put their own salt on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Or reduce
the other thing to pay attention
to,
though, would be if you're going to be thinking, since Thanksgiving's just over a month away, so it's getting pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Who's coming over to the house? If you're cooking the dinner, think about who your guests are, and do they have high blood pressure? Do they have food restrictions? Is or are there reasons why we need to find the low salt or the no salt recipes for the traditional Thanksgiving dishes that we'll serve? And then if somebody wants to add salt because they don't have that issue, they can.
Right. Yeah.
But then everybody can partake and enjoy in the family dinner.
And low sodium broth.
Low sodium broth.
Low sodium
Low
broth.
sodium.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SSM Health, SLU Hospital, and SLU Care. Here with us every Wednesday. Good stuff, Doc, as always. Thanks.
All right, good.